Paul Massey, who was shot 5 times outside his home in Salford on the 26th of July.
Mafia members are some of the most dangerous people to walk on this earth, but sometimes even these violent individuals fall victim to the wrath of drug cartels. Without further ado, here are 3 Mafia members murdered by Mexican drug cartels on camera. Joseph Hutchinson. Joseph Hutchinson, a notorious member of the San Fer gang and enforcer for the Mexican Mafia, met a tragic end when he was stabbed to death in Men's Central Jail. But how did he start his journey? In the seedy underbelly of the San Fernando Valley, a figure emerged who would strike fear into the hearts of many. Joseph Hutchinson, known by his menacing moniker Capone, was a longtime member of the notorious San Fer gang, but it was his involvement with the Mexican Mafia that truly solidified his reputation as a ruthless enforcer. Hutchinson's journey into the criminal world began when he caught the attention of Michael Torres, a powerful figure within the Mexican Mafia. Torres recognized Hutchinson's unwavering loyalty and his ability to get things done, making him an invaluable asset in the organization's operations. As an enforcer, Hutchinson's primary role was to ensure that Torres' orders were carried out without question. He became the muscle behind the scenes, responsible for collecting money, enforcing drug deals, and maintaining order within the ranks. Hutchinson's imposing presence and reputation for violence made him a force to be reckoned with. One of the most notorious incidents involving Hutchinson was his involvement in a murder plot that resulted in the death of an innocent man. Court records revealed that Hutchinson, under the guidance of Torres's longtime secretary, Virginia Big Verge Moore, played a pivotal role in the mistaken identity killing. This shocking event showcased the lengths to which Hutchinson and the Mexican Mafia were willing to go to protect their interests. But it wasn't just the streets where Hutchinson's influence was felt. Even behind bars, he maintained control and ensured that Torres's operations continued to thrive. Hutchinson's involvement in the drug trade and other criminal activities within the county jails made him a valuable asset to Eulalio Lalo Martinez, a member of the Mexican Mafia from Rosemead's Lomas gang. Martinez had taken over the jail system after Torres was sent to state prison in 2007, and he relied on Hutchinson's inmate trust account to facilitate drug sales and manage the lucrative Kitty, a collection of commissary items that were resold within the jails. Hutchinson's primary responsibility was to ensure that drug dealers paid their dues to the Mexican Mafia. Under the guidance of Virginia Big Verge Moore, Torres's longtime secretary, Hutchinson tracked down drug dealers and made sure they were contributing their share of profits to Michael Torres's empire. One such dealer was Brian Stansfield, who found himself entangled in the web of Hutchinson's influence. Stansfield, seeking fast money after his release from jail, entered the drug trade hoping for a taste of the Scarface dream. Through connections made behind bars, Stansfield was introduced to Hutchinson, a figure whose reputation preceded him. Hutchinson facilitated Stansfield's access to Torres's supplier, Ramiro Rome Alatorre, who provided him with an ounce of methamphetamine on credit. However, Stansfield soon realized that the drug trade was not as lucrative as he had hoped. Not only did he struggle to turn a profit, but he also found himself burdened by the taxes imposed by Alatorre, which ultimately made his venture unprofitable. Frustrated and disillusioned, Stansfield decided to leave the drug trade behind. But leaving the clutches of the Mexican Mafia was not so simple. Hutchinson, relentless in his pursuit of money owed, tracked down Stansfield at a Walmart in Palmdale. Confronting him, Hutchinson demanded payment for the debt. Stansfield, refusing to comply, engaged in a heated exchange with Hutchinson, threatening retaliation if his life was endangered. The encounter showcased the dangerous and violent nature of Hutchinson's role as an enforcer. Hutchinson's involvement in the drug trade extended beyond collecting debts. He played a crucial role in facilitating drug sales and managing the Kitty within the county jails. Eulalio Lalo Martinez, a member of the Mexican Mafia from Rosemead's Lomas gang, relied on Hutchinson's inmate trust account to send and receive money from drug sales. The Kitty was a pot of commissary items collected from Latino inmates, which was then resold within the jails, generating additional profits for the Mexican Mafia. The intricate web of drug trafficking and extortion orchestrated by Hutchinson and his associates allowed the Mexican Mafia to maintain control and profitability within the county jails. Their operations were not limited to the confines of prison walls, but extended their reach into the streets of Los Angeles and beyond. However, the downfall of Hutchinson's criminal empire was imminent. He was arrested and charged with conspiring with Martinez to commit murder, extortion, and money laundering. Although his conviction was later reversed, Hutchinson's fate was sealed when he met his own violent end in Men's Central Jail. The web of criminality spun by Hutchinson and his associates was intricate and far far-reaching. Their operations extended beyond the confines of the jail walls, with drug trafficking and extortion becoming their bread and butter. Hutchinson's reputation as a feared enforcer grew, and his name became synonymous with violence and intimidation within the criminal underworld. However, the tides of fortune can be fickle, even for those who seem untouchable. Hutchinson's world came crashing down when he was arrested and charged with conspiring with Martinez to commit murder, extortion, and money laundering. In 2016, he was convicted and sentenced to 31 years to life, but the story took a surprising turn when an appellate court reversed the judgment in 2022, granting Hutchinson a chance at a retrial. Tragically, before Hutchinson could face justice, once again, his life was abruptly cut short. On that fateful day in Men's Central Jail, he was found suffering from stab wounds in a cell he shared with another inmate. The circumstances surrounding his death remain shrouded in mystery, leaving authorities and fellow inmates questioning who could have been behind such a brazen act of violence. In the aftermath of Torres's killing, chaos erupted within the criminal underworld. The Mexican Mafia, once held together by Torres' iron grip, now faced internal power struggles and external threats. Rival factions vied for control, seeking to fill the void left by Torres's absence. The result was a wave of violence that swept through the streets of Los Angeles and beyond. 1 week after Torres' murder, a woman said to be associated with him was shot to death in his mother's home in San Fernando. The motive behind her killing remains unclear, but it was seen as a message to those who dared to challenge the Mexican Mafia's authority. The repercussions of Torres's death were not limited to the streets. Inside the county jails, tensions ran high as rival factions fought for control. The power struggle played out in a series of violent incidents, leaving a trail of bloodshed in its wake. Inmates aligned with Torres' faction sought revenge for his killing, targeting those they believed were responsible. The fallout from Torres's death also had implications for the justice system. Evelyn Torres, Michael Torres's niece, was arrested and charged with the murder of Stephanie Rodriguez, a woman found shot to death in a home owned by Torres' mother, Ray Martinez and Juan Martinez. These individuals were identified as the assailants responsible for the attack on Torres. They were promptly placed in a restricted housing wing of California State Prison, Sacramento, pending further investigation. The killing of Michael Torres marked a turning point in the criminal landscape of Los Angeles. The Mexican Mafia, once a formidable force under his leadership, now faced internal strife and external threats. The power vacuum left by Torres' death created a climate of uncertainty and violence as rival factions fought for control and sought to assert their dominance. The story of Joseph Hutchinson's involvement in the drug trade and his role as an enforcer sheds light on the inner workings of the Mexican Mafia and the lengths to which they would go to maintain their control and dominance. Paul Massey, the notorious figure in the criminal underworld, had a humble beginning that would eventually lead him down a path of violence and power. Born on January 7, 1960, in Ordsall, Salford, England, Massey was raised in a working-class family, one of 6 children born to Rose and John Massey. From an early age, Massey showed signs of rebellion and a disregard for authority. At the tender age of 12, he found himself on the wrong side of the law when he was arrested for criminal damage. This incident marked the beginning of a troubled youth that would shape his future. Sentenced to an approved school, Massey experienced the harsh realities of the criminal justice system at a young age. It was during his time in the approved school that he began to develop a reputation for his defiance and rebellious nature. Little did anyone know that this troubled young boy would go on to become one of the most feared figures in the criminal underworld. As Massey grew older, he found himself drawn to the allure of the streets. The gritty neighborhoods of Salford became his playground, and he quickly became entangled in the world of crime. Massey's upbringing in a working-class environment exposed him to the harsh realities of life, and he soon realized that the only way to survive was to embrace the criminal lifestyle. In his late teens, Massey began to establish connections within the criminal underworld. He formed alliances with like-minded individuals who shared his hunger for power and control. Together, they embarked on a journey that would see them rise through the ranks of the criminal hierarchy. However, Massey's criminal activities were not limited to the streets. He was a man of ambition and saw an opportunity to expand his empire beyond the confines of the underworld. With a keen business sense, Massey ventured into legitimate enterprises, using them as a front to conceal his illicit activities. This dual life allowed him to amass wealth and power while maintaining a facade of respectability. But it was Massey's ability to navigate the treacherous world of criminal alliances that truly set him apart. He became known as a skilled mediator, capable of resolving disputes between rival organized crime firms in Greater Manchester. This unique position of influence earned him the nickname Mr. Big and solidified his status as an influential figure in the criminal underworld. As Massey's reputation grew, so did his criminal empire. He established several security companies in the 1990s, which served as a front for his illicit activities. Through these businesses, Massey and his gang controlled the doors of numerous nightclubs in the Manchester area, further expanding their influence and power. However, Massey's criminal career was not without its setbacks. In 1999, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison for a brutal stabbing incident. This act of violence showcased the ruthless nature of Massey and his willingness to resort to extreme measures to protect his interests. Despite his incarceration, Massey's influence extended beyond the prison walls. He continued to exert control over his criminal empire, with his associates carrying out his orders from the outside. Massey's ability to maintain his grip on power, even from behind bars, was a testament to his cunning and resourcefulness. The nightclubs became a hub for illegal activities, with drugs, gambling, and other illicit dealings taking place under Massey's watchful eye. But Massey's criminal activities were not limited to the nightclubs. He had a keen understanding of the power dynamics within the criminal underworld and used this knowledge to his advantage. Several media outlets reported that Massey served as an important mediator between rival organized crime firms in Greater Manchester. His role as a mediator was crucial in maintaining a delicate balance of power and preventing all-out gang wars. Massey had the unique ability to navigate the treacherous waters of criminal alliances, using his influence to broker deals and resolve disputes. His reputation as a skilled negotiator earned him the respect and fear of those within the criminal underworld. However, Massey's position as a mediator did not come without risks. The rival factions he dealt with were not known for their patience or forgiveness. Any misstep or perceived betrayal could have dire consequences. Massey walked a tightrope, constantly aware of the dangers that lurked around every corner. At the time of his death, the regional organized crime squad was investigating Massey over allegations of money laundering. This investigation highlighted the extent of his criminal activities and the attention he had drawn from law enforcement. Massey's empire was under scrutiny and the walls were closing in. But despite the mounting pressure, Massey continued to exert his influence and expand his criminal empire. His ability to maintain control over his associates and navigate the complex web of criminal alliances was a testament to his leadership skills and cunning. Massey's criminal career was not without its controversies and setbacks. His violent nature and willingness to resort to extreme measures to protect his interests often landed him in trouble. However, his reputation as a powerful figure in the criminal underworld remained intact. On a fateful day, July 26, 2015, Paul Massey's life came to a sudden and violent end. As he stepped outside his home on Manchester Road, Clifton, he was confronted by a lone gunman. Mark Fellows, the killer, was reported to have been dressed in military-style fatigues, armed with a weapon similar to a submachine gun. In a matter of seconds, Massey's life was snuffed out, leaving behind a void in the criminal underworld. The news of Massey's murder sent shockwaves through the criminal landscape. The Greater Manchester Police launched an intensive investigation, desperate to bring those responsible to justice. They offered a $50,000 reward for any information that could lead to the arrest of the killer or provide crucial details about the motive behind the assassination. The circumstances surrounding Massey's death raised many questions. Why was he targeted? Who had the motive to eliminate such a powerful figure? As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Mexican drug cartels were involved. Massey's connections and influence had extended beyond the borders of the UK, making him a target for these ruthless criminal organizations. The murder of Paul Massey had far-reaching consequences. Authorities in the Manchester area feared an escalation in gang violence as rival factions sought retribution for his death. The streets of Salford became a battleground, with a wave of shootings and acts of violence that were believed to be linked to the fallout from Massey's assassination. In a chilling turn of events, Manchester police believed that the shooting of a 29-year-old woman and her 7-year-old son was directly connected to the retribution for Massey's killing. The innocent victims became casualties in a war fueled by vengeance and a thirst for power. From January to December 2015, the city of Salford experienced a staggering 19 shootings, a stark reminder of the chaos and bloodshed that followed in the wake of Massey's death. The criminal landscape was in turmoil, with rival factions vying for control and seeking to fill the void left by Massey's absence. But justice would not elude Massey forever. On June 1, 2018, Mark Fellows, the man responsible for Massey's murder, was charged not only with Massey's killing, but also with the murder of Massey's close friend, Liverpool gangster John Kinsella. Fellows was subsequently convicted and sentenced to a whole life order, ensuring that he would spend the rest of his days behind bars. Behind the criminal facade, Paul Massey had a personal life touched by tragedy and love. At the time of his death, Massey had 5 children and 8 grandchildren, who were left devastated by the loss of their father and grandfather. Massey's family had to grapple with the dual nature of his life, torn between the love they had for him and the knowledge of his criminal activities. Despite his involvement in the criminal underworld, Massey was known to be a family man. He cherished his role as a father and grandfather, finding solace and joy in the love and support of his loved ones. His family was his sanctuary, a place where he could momentarily escape the violence and chaos that defined his criminal career. Massey's larger-than-life personality and influence in the criminal underworld earned him the nickname Mr. Big. This moniker was bestowed upon him by City Councillor Joe Burrows during a meeting in 1992. The nickname captured the essence of Massey's powerful presence and the fear he instilled in those who crossed his path. However, the nickname Mr. Big also carried a weight of responsibility. It symbolized the immense power and influence that Massey held within the criminal underworld. It was a title that demanded respect and commanded fear. Massey's reputation as Mr. Big solidified his status as a force to be reckoned with, both within the criminal fraternity and in the eyes of the public. Massey's nickname also reflected the complex relationship between organized crime and the communities they operated in. While his criminal activities were a source of fear and disruption, Massey's influence extended beyond the criminal underworld. He was a figure who could not be ignored, a man whose actions had far-reaching consequences. Helmer Herrera. Helmer Herrera, also known as Pacho and H7, was a Colombian drug trafficker who played a significant role in the notorious Cali Cartel. Born on August 24, 1951, in Palmyra, Valle del Cauca, Colombia, Herrera's life took a dark turn when he became involved in the illicit drug trade. After selling cocaine in New York City, he faced multiple arrests on distribution charges in 1975 and 1978. Herrera's criminal career reached new heights when he joined forces with the Cali Cartel, negotiating supply and distribution rights for the cartel in New York City and establishing trafficking routes through Mexico. He gained notoriety for running a highly sophisticated money laundering operation, employing guerrilla forces to safeguard his operations. Despite maintaining a low profile, Herrera's name came to public attention after surviving a terrorist attack attributed to the Medellin cartel. However, his criminal empire eventually crumbled, leading to his surrender and subsequent imprisonment. Tragically, Herrera's life came to a shocking end when he was assassinated while playing football in prison. Helmer Herrera was born in the Colombian town of Palmyra, located in the Valle del Cauca department. Growing up in this small town, Herrera's life seemed ordinary at first, but it was during his formative years that he encountered experiences that would shape his future. While attending high school, Herrera developed an interest in technical maintenance. His studies in this field would prove to be a stepping stone for his later endeavors. After completing his education, Herrera's skills landed him a job in the United States, where he worked as a jeweler and precious metals broker. Living in the United States exposed Herrera to a different world, one that would ultimately lead him down a dark path. It was during his time in New York City that he became involved in the illicit drug trade, specifically cocaine. In the mid-1970s, Herrera began selling cocaine on the streets of New York City, a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. His involvement in the drug trade quickly attracted the attention of law enforcement, resulting in his arrest on distribution charges in 1975 and 1978. These arrests marked a turning point in Herrera's life. Instead of deterring him, they only fueled his determination to rise within the criminal underworld. Herrera's experiences in the drug trade taught him valuable lessons about the intricacies of the illicit business, setting the stage for his future endeavors. In 1983, Herrera made a fateful decision that would change the course of his life. He traveled to Cali, Colombia, with the intention of negotiating supply and distribution rights with the Cali Cartel for New York City. This move proved to be a pivotal moment in Herrera's criminal career. The Cali Cartel, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in Colombia, recognized Herrera's potential and welcomed him into their ranks. With his connections in the United States and his knowledge of the drug trade, Herrera quickly rose through the ranks of the cartel. Herrera's role within the Cali Cartel extended beyond drug trafficking. He became known for running one of the most sophisticated and profitable money laundering operations, catching the attention of law enforcement agencies, including the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA. To protect his operations, Herrera employed guerrilla forces, such as the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, FARC, and the 19th of April Movement, M19, to guard remote lab sites. This alliance between drug traffickers and guerrilla groups added another layer of complexity to Herrera's criminal activities. Despite his significant role in the Cali Cartel, Herrera maintained a remarkably low profile. He rarely granted interviews, and his name was seldom mentioned alongside the other leaders of the cartel. This secrecy allowed him to operate discreetly and avoid unnecessary attention from law enforcement. However, Herrera's name came to light after surviving a terrorist attack on a football field in Candelaria, Valle del Cauca, in 1990. The attack, attributed to the Medellin cartel and its leader, Pablo Escobar, was believed to be in retaliation for a car bomb explosion that occurred in one of Escobar's properties. The war between the cartels resulted in bloodshed, but Herrera took a back seat and left the fighting to the Rodriguez brothers, his trusted associates within the Cali cartel. Despite these challenges, Herrera's criminal empire continued to thrive, solidifying his position as a key figure in the world of drug trafficking. As Herrera rose through the ranks of the Cali cartel, he quickly became one of its key figures. His connections in the United States and his knowledge of the drug trade made him an invaluable asset to the organization. Herrera's first major contribution to the Cali cartel was opening up trafficking routes through Mexico. With his established connections, he facilitated the transportation of drugs from South America to the United States, ensuring a steady supply for the cartel's operations. But Herrera's involvement went beyond transportation. He also played a crucial role in the conversion of cocaine base into its final form. The Cali cartel relied on his expertise to oversee the conversion laboratories in Colombia, where the raw cocaine base from Peru and Bolivia was processed. To protect these conversion laboratories, Herrera employed guerrilla forces such as the FARC and the M19. These armed groups ensured the security of the remote lab sites, guarding them against rival cartels and law enforcement agencies. Herrera's involvement in the Cali cartel extended beyond drug trafficking. He was also responsible for running one of the most sophisticated and profitable money laundering operations. Through a complex network of shell companies and offshore accounts, he successfully laundered the cartel's illicit proceeds. It has been argued that Herrera was the primary source of funding for the illicit financing of Ernesto Samper's presidential campaign. However, Herrera himself never spoke of this issue and was never formally implicated in the investigation. Herrera's involvement in the drug trade did not come without consequences. He became a target of the Medellin cartel, particularly its leader, Pablo Escobar. Escobar blamed Herrera for a car bomb explosion in one of his properties, which led to a violent war between the two cartels. Despite the escalating violence, Herrera took a back seat and left the fighting to his trusted associates, the Rodriguez brothers. This strategic move allowed him to maintain his position within the Cali cartel while avoiding direct confrontation with the Medellin cartel. Herrera was also rumored to be the main financial provider for the Los Pepes organization, a vigilante group formed to target members of the Cali cartel. However, his name was never officially associated with them. The United States Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, had Herrera on their radar. In November 1991, they launched Operation Kingpin, targeting two of Herrera's distribution cells in New York City. The operation resulted in the arrest of numerous traffickers and the seizure of millions of dollars in cash and assets. Faced with mounting pressure, Herrera made a decision that would change the course of his life. On September 1, 1996, he turned himself in to the Search Block, a unit of the Colombian National Police. Herrera was the last of the four leaders of the Cali cartel to be captured. Once in prison, Herrera reportedly changed his lifestyle. He devoted himself to football, becoming the sports organizer in the penitentiary and sponsoring football tournaments. He even pursued a bachelor's degree in business administration. Despite being sentenced to 6 years and 8 months in prison for drug trafficking charges, Herrera seemed to have some freedom within the prison walls. He visited other wings, where he would meet with his lawyers, even though he was supposed to be in the maximum security wing. On November 6, 1998, tragedy struck. While playing football on the prison pitch, Herrera was approached by Rafael Angel Uribe Serna, a personal advisor of Herrera's for 10 years. Uribe, reportedly drunk, greeted Herrera with a hug before pulling out a gun and shooting him 7 times in the head. The shocking assassination took place in front of other inmates who quickly apprehended Uribe. Prison guards intervened, taking Uribe into custody while Herrera was rushed to a hospital. However, his injuries were too severe and he tragically succumbed to them. The motives behind Herrera's assassination remain a subject of speculation. Some believe it was a result of old vendettas from members of the Norte del Valle cartel, while others point to Herrera's conflicts with communist guerrillas. The assassin, Uribe, claimed that he killed Herrera because Herrera had threatened his family when Uribe failed to carry out an assassination order. However, these claims were deemed unreliable, and it is widely believed that Uribe acted under the orders of the Norte del Valle cartel. They were angry with Herrera for exposing information about them and sought to take over the business left behind after the capture or death of the Cali cartel leaders. It is worth noting that Uribe himself was assassinated in October 2009. His death further added to the complex web of violence and intrigue surrounding Herrera and the drug trade in Colombia. Thanks for watching. Click on the videos on your screen for similar content.